Hi, my name is Dhruvan. Today, I am reading Bye Loser, I Am Still Not a Loser. Bye Loser, I am not a loser. Horrible. You know when someone's horrible to you in a dream and you wake up really annoyed with them? That's what happened to me with the monkey, my best friend. In the dream, I was my favorite TV character, Future Rat Boy, and Bunky was his annoying sidekick, Notbird. We were in the mayor's office, which looked exactly like my granny's house. You're the only one who can save us from the Hufflepuffs, said the mayor, who was played by my teacher, Mr. Hodgepodge. Hufflepuffs were the invention of Professor Smuggly, who in the dream was Gordon Smuggly from our class at school. Gordon Smuggly has the most perfect name for himself ever in the history of having a name, because he looks like a Gordon and is smuggly and ugly. Professor Smuggly has given all the dogs in town his Hufflepuff potion, so that now, instead of their poos landing splat on the ground, they hovered 10 centimeters above it. They're everywhere, said the mayor, screaming as a Hufflepuff floated up and bumped into his sock. It was about the same size as Notbird, Bunky, and the name colour brown, and also floated like birds can. Don't worry, Mayor Hodgepodge. We'll stop Professor Smuggly, I said, and I looked at his face to see if he was impressed, but he was too busy screaming and kicking at the Hufflepuff to notice, because it was a dream. All of a sudden, we were in Professor Smuggly's laboratory, and I'd turned myself into a fly, and I was sitting on Notbird's beak. What's all this craziness about? Said Professor Smuggly, holding up a test tube with the brown bubbling potion in it. Oh, can't I have a sip? Said Notbird, flying over to the test tube. He perched on the edge and dipped his beak in. Ah, he said, and he turned straight into a Hufflepuff. A talking Hufflepuff. That could be useful, said Professor Smuggly, flicking me off Notbird's head. Notbird, how do you fancy being my right-hand man? He said, or should I say right-hand poo? But Bunky's my right-hand poo, I screamed. But because I was a fly, it came out as a whisper. Barry, you're late for school! My mum shouted up the stairs, and I woke up, not a fly anymore, and late for school. Thanks for making me late, said Bunky at the top of my road, where he waits for me in the morning, and he wasn't being sarcastic either. Oh, I'm so sorry. What do you have to meet Professor Smuggly or something? I said in full Future Rat Boy sarcastic mode. Who's Professor Smuggly? Said Bunky. picking his nose and eating it for breakfast. "Don't pretend you don't know Horripoo," I said, and I gave him evil stare. "What's a Horripoo?" said Bunky, and he scrunched himself up into a poo shape and pretending to hover around doing blow-offs, and I crumpled to the floor like a deck chair being folded up, being myself with laughter. The walk to school takes us past Granny Hoppenduck's house, which I've been trying to avoid ever since she started going out with my teacher, Mr. Hodgepodge. I usually manage to sneak past just before they have their disgusting morning kiss at the front gate, but because we were late, Monkey and me got there, and exact millisecond their dried up old lips started snogging. I closed my eyes to stop myself being sick and tried to tiptoe past, but what with Bunky doing his Horripoo impression and me tripping over Granny's empty milk bottles and Mr. Hodgepodge's kissing Granny with his eyes open anyway, it didn't really work. "Oh, Hodge, you can give Barry and Blinky a lift," said Granny. So that was how we ended up in Mr. Hodgepodge's car. Not is Granny's Hoppenduck's nickname for Mr. Hodgepodge, who's the happiest person in the whole wide world, now that he's going out with her. "Isn't it the most incredibly beautiful day?" he said in his new woolly jumper that matches Granny's. He was squeezing into the front seat of his car, all wheezing, blowing off, and I looked at Bunky's eyes in the rear view mirror and did a little snortle. I was a bit annoyed that we were getting a lift with Mr. Hodgepodge, mainly because of how embarrassing it was, but also because I couldn't go on to Three Thumb Burritos. Three Thumb Burritos is a tiny sweet shop halfway between my house and school. It's owned by